I don't have anything negative to say about Sean Combs because my experience was not what the world has seen and how he's been, misrepresented.
Being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
30 years, I've done nothing but collect information, knowledge, and your secrets. So if you and a man was in a corner doing something you wasn't supposed to be doing,
you would tell it.
No, somebody come to tell me.
Okay.
I gather that, I value that, I'll pay for.
Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story.
These big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. Takes any of them, all lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
As soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. So every time you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay, I get the mansion.
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you tried to get in contact with me, through all my, business, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
Tell you my number.
Bad boy. Oh, he's bad boy now.
Oh, signing the bad boy.
It's your icon alert.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So yeah, it's hard because I want her to know that, she can count on me. But at the end of the day, I'm never gonna force myself to be in a relationship with her. It has to be natural, right? So I just I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call.
I think certain people are prosecuted and maybe not recognized for the greatness, that they offer. I don't have anything negative to say about Sean Combs because my experience was not what the world has seen and how he's been, misrepresented. I'm not saying that every man is perfect. I'm not saying that all of us don't have flaws, but I can't, with any sense of humanity, not recognize the valuable contributions that this man made for us as Black entrepreneurs, for us as businessmen, for us as people who transition, culture and ideas into something that's tangible and becomes business. So many people benefited from what he created, and I acknowledge that. And that's why I see him as legacy.
You told Shannon Sharp you learned a lot about business during that era.
Absolutely.
What'd you learn?
Puff was a mentor, but he was like you have that really, really hard teacher, but you're watching something in real time. I think that the idea of the level of discipline that came with that time in business, especially in an era that was trying to prove itself. Culture.
A lot of stuff about Diddy that a lot of people don't know.
Man, there's a lot of stuff that Mace and Usher know that they ain't telling about Diddy. There's a lot of stuff that they know. Can you imagine, bruh? Can you really imagine?
What you mean by Usher, though?
Usher used to stay with Diddy, too, when he was younger. Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. Let Usher mama explain that to you. And the hospital was in Scarsdale, New York.
What if one of the biggest pop stars in the world has been quietly carrying industry secrets for years? And now, those secrets are starting to slip out. Because just when people thought the drama around Diddy couldn't get any deeper, a resurfaced feud between Usher and Justin Bieber has everyone asking the same question. What really happened behind the scenes when Justin was first introduced to the industry? And why are old warnings from Katt Williams suddenly hitting a little too close to home? The night was supposed to be all glitz, champagne, and carefully curated smiles. But behind the velvet ropes of Beyoncé and Jay-Z's Oscars afterparty, something far more tense was unfolding. Witnesses say Usher approached Justin Bieber with what could only be described as energy, and not the friendly kind. Voices got low, expressions got tight, and suddenly the two artists, who once looked like mentor and protege, were locked in a moment that had everyone asking the same question. What could have gone so wrong that Justin now seems to want nothing to do with the very person who helped launch his career? Because this isn't just about one awkward exchange. It feels like the surface of something much deeper, something that may have been building for years. To understand how things got here, you have to rewind to the beginning, back when a young Justin Bieber was just a viral kid with a YouTube channel and a dream. Enter Scooter Braun, the man who discovered him and quickly connected him with Usher, one of the biggest names in R&B at the time. Usher didn't just co-sign Justin. He helped usher him into the industry, quite literally shaping his early career and positioning himself as a trusted mentor figure. It was the kind of story the industry loves, a superstar guiding the next generation. But somewhere in that mentorship, there was a decision that now has people looking back with raised eyebrows, because instead of keeping Justin close, Usher introduced him to Sean Diddy Combs, placing him under the wing of one of the most powerful and now controversial figures in music. At the time, it seemed like an opportunity of a lifetime. There's even that old footage still floating around online. A teenage Justin spending 48 hours with Diddy, walking through a mansion, being promised access to luxury, fame, and a lifestyle most people could only dream of. Back then, it played like harmless celebrity fun, an established mogul showing a rising star the ropes. But watching it now, knowing everything that's been said and implied in recent years, the tone feels different. There's an awkwardness in Justin's demeanor, a kind of forced excitement that fans have since revisited with fresh eyes. No one is outright saying what happened in those moments, but the contrast between how it looked then and how it feels now is hard to ignore. And not long after that period, people began noticing changes in Justin. The once bubbly, wide-eyed teenager started showing signs of struggle, erratic behavior, brushes with controversy, and eventually very public battles with mental health and substance use. He leaned heavily into his faith, got married earlier than many expected, and began pulling back from the spotlight in ways that suggested he was trying to find stability outside of the chaos. Fans didn't just see a pop star growing up. They saw someone who seemed to be recovering from something. And perhaps the most telling shift came in how protective he became of younger artists, especially Billie Eilish. In interviews, Justin spoke openly about wanting to shield her from the darker sides of the industry, hinting, without saying too much, that his own experience hadn't been what it seemed. Then came Katt Williams, who, in true Katt fashion, didn't hint at anything. He said it outright. During his explosive interview on Club Shay Shay, Katt warned that 2024 would be the year all lies will be exposed, calling out powerful figures and long-standing industry behavior that, according to him, had been hidden in plain sight. What made people pause wasn't just the boldness of his claims. It was how consistent he's been. Katt has spent years suggesting that behind the glamour of mentorships and million-dollar deals, there are offers and expectations that don't get talked about publicly. He even claimed he personally turned down massive sums of money to avoid compromising situations, framing himself as someone who saw the game and chose not to play it. So when he started connecting dots that seemed to echo Justin's past and Diddy's influence, people started listening a little more closely. And that brings the story back to Usher, because long before Justin, Usher himself was once the young artist being mentored. At just 14 years old, he was sent to live and work with Diddy, a move that was supposed to shape him into a star. Over the years, Usher has occasionally alluded to that time, but never in full detail. In interviews, when questions got too specific, he reportedly pulled back, once saying he'd save some for a book, hinting that there were experiences he wasn't ready to publicly unpack. That silence has only fueled speculation, especially as old rumors, secondhand accounts, and resurfaced stories continue to circulate online. Some claims remain unverified. Others are tied to broader allegations surrounding Diddy. But together, they create a cloud of uncertainty that makes Usher's continued public support of Diddy all the more puzzling. which is why that moment at the Oscars after party hits differently. Because when you look at the timeline, the mentorship, the handoff, the footage, the fallout, the warnings, it stops feeling like random drama and starts looking like a story that hasn't fully been told yet. And the biggest question still hanging in the air is this. Is Justin Bieber simply moving on from his past, or is he quietly distancing himself from something he doesn't want to be connected to anymore? And this is where the story takes a turn that has people truly eyed it, because despite everything that's been said, hinted at, and resurfaced, Usher has never publicly distanced himself from Sean Diddy Combs. In fact, he's done the exact opposite. In recent interviews, Usher has gone out of his way to defend Diddy, emphasizing his legacy, his contributions to music and culture, and insisting that his personal experiences with him were not what the public is now being led to believe. And that's what makes this whole situation so hard to process, because on one hand, you have years of rumors, resurfaced clips, and growing scrutiny, and on the other, you have someone who is not only close to Diddy, but shaped by him, still standing firmly in his corner. It creates a kind of cognitive dissonance that keeps people locked in. Is Usher protecting a mentor who helped build his career, or is there a deeper reason why he won't, or can't, say anything different? At the same time, the noise surrounding Diddy hasn't exactly quieted down. It's gotten louder. Lawsuits have emerged, former associates have spoken out, and stories that once lived in the shadows of internet forums are now being discussed on major platforms. There are claims circulating from a former bodyguard suggesting that key figures in the industry witnessed more than they've ever admitted. There are leaked accounts and secondhand stories that attempt to connect dots between artists, parties, and alleged behind-the-scenes behavior. Now, it's important to be clear. These are allegations, not confirmed facts, but the sheer volume of them has started to shift public perception in a way that's hard to ignore. People aren't just reacting to one story anymore. They're reacting to a pattern. And when multiple narratives begin to overlap, even loosely, it creates an environment where audiences start asking their own questions, filling in gaps, and reinterpreting moments that once seemed harmless. Which brings everything right back to Justin Bieber. Because when you look at his current distance from Usher, it doesn't feel as random as it once did. The missed collaborations, the skipped Super Bowl appearance, the visible tension, it all starts to take on a different meaning when placed alongside everything else. Maybe it's just personal growth. Maybe it's business. Or maybe it's something more complicated, something tied to experiences that Justin has only ever hinted at but never fully explained. And that's where the emotional core of this story really sits. Not in the rumors or the headlines, but in the possibility that a young artist entered an industry full of trust, only to come out of it with reasons to keep his distance from the very people who once guided him. So now the question isn't just about what happened back then. It's about what's happening now. Why is Usher still standing by Diddy so publicly, even as the conversation around him continues to shift? And why does Justin seem to be moving further and further away from that entire circle? Is this all just coincidence and internet speculation spiraling out of control? Or are we watching pieces of a much bigger story slowly fall into place?